OrchotTzaddikimC, Chapter 2 Modesty, Part 3. And he who makes his heart as nothing but flesh, his prayer will be heard, as it is written, all flesh will come to bow before me, said the Lord. Isaiah 66:23, see Sota 5a. And it is written, O thou that hearest prayer, unto thee does all flesh come. Psalm 65:3. Rabbi Joshua ben Levi said, Come and see how great before the Holy One, blessed be he, are the lowly in spirit. When the temple was still standing, if a man offered a burnt offering, he received the reward of a burnt offering. If he offered a meal offering, he received the reward of a meal offering. But he whose spirit is humble is said by Scripture to be as though he had offered all of the sacrifices, for it is said, the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. Psalm 51:19. Not only this, but his prayer is not rejected for it. It is also said in the same verse, a broken and contrite heart, O God, thou wilt not despite. And this is commented upon in Sota 5b. Many good branches sprout from the root of modesty. The modest person is patient, and from patience comes peace, and with humility one can quiet the wrath of a man who is angry with him. As it is said, a soft answer turns away wrath. Proverbs 15:1. And seeking peace is a very good quality indeed. The modest person has charm, as it is said, and he gives grace to the humble. Proverbs 3:34. The prayer of the modest person is received before the Holy One, blessed be he. For he, the modest person, is always generous, waives his claims against others. And it is because of this that the prayer of Rabbi Akiba was received when he began, Our Father, our King, as is commented upon in Ta'anith 25b. The modest man merits increasing wisdom, for he is humble in the presence of the wise and sits at their feet, as it is said, He that walks with wise men shall be wise. Proverbs 13:20. Heaven has mercy upon the humble person, as it is said, He who confesses his wrongs and forsakes them shall obtain mercy. Proverbs 28:13. The modest person flees from greatness and from honor, and it is on this that the modesty of a person really depends, as it is said, and to walk humbly with thy God. Micah 6:8. The modest person is happy with the portion that the Holy One, blessed be he, has allotted him, whether it be great or small, as it is said, better is a little that the righteous has. Psalm 37:16. And with his rejoicing in his portion, he quiets his heart from the hustle-bustle of this world, and thus his heart is left open to search wisdom and to the service of the Holy One. Blessed be he. The modest person judges every man favorably. An example of this is when he asks one of the pious, By what means did you merit to become the master of the wise of your generation? He responded, Because I credited every man I saw with being better than I. If he were wiser than I said, he is also more reverent to God than I, because of his greater wisdom. And if he has less wisdom than I would say, any fault he commits he does unknowingly, but I, whatever sin I commit, do so knowingly. If he were older than I would say he has amassed more merits than I, but if I were older than he, I would say his sins are less than mine. And if he were like me in wisdom and years, I would say his heart is better directed to God than mine. For I know the sins I have committed, and I do not know the sins he has committed. And if he were richer than I would say, he gives more charity than I. And if he were poorer than I would say he is more crushed and lowly in spirit than I, and is better than I. And for these reasons I honored all men and humbled myself before them. The faults of a humble person are quickly forgotten because people seek to honor such a person, and the modest person finds many helpers. For example, they said of a certain king who was lodging with many people one night that he himself arose and adjusted the lamp so that it should not be extinguished. His followers said to him, Why did you not command us to do this? He said to them, As king, I felt it to be my duty. And the sages said, Every virtue is envied except modesty, And they said further, he who is lowly in his own eyes is great in the eyes of others. But in exercising the quality of humility, we ought to shun being submissive and modest before the wicked. And on this subject, Scripture has said, as a troubled fountain and a corrupted spring, so is a righteous man that gives way before the wicked. Proverbs 25:26. And if he has the power, he should avenge the wickedness of the wicked for the honor of God's name, and add strength to his rebuke against them, and stand against them like a roaring lion to save the plundered from the plunderer. Let him teach others the true service of the Holy One, blessed be he, and rebuke them with all his might, according to his wisdom. First gently, and if this does not succeed, then he must shame them. He must constantly command them to do good, and warn them away from evil, with mouth and tongue, according to his wisdom, and he must hasten to exact what is due to God, and not be submissive or humble in this. There is a modesty which is as evil as arrogance, as in the case of the false prophets who used to dress in the humble garments of the prophets of truth, in order that people should accept their lies and falsehoods. As it is said, neither shall they wear a hairy mantle to deceive. Zechariah 13:4. Therefore, those who are modest in their dress and speak gently, conduct themselves as pious and just in order that others should believe and depend upon their works, flatter those who should not be flattered, and make secret schemes and do not worry about fulfilling the commandments except when they're in the public eye and not when they're alone, and thus deceive the people. These are profaners of God, blessed be he, more than all others, for they cause people to disbelieve the good teachers and prophets. For these latter are they suspected by people who say, perhaps these men are like those who deceived us. When anyone recognizes a false and lying prophet, he should spread this abroad and let everybody know, as our sages said. We must publicly expose those who are flatterers. Yoma 86b. Therefore, arouse yourself, and do not be reluctant to weaken the temptation within you to exalt yourself and to deceive. And do not hold back because you see many of your contemporaries still clinging to these qualities and not attempting to eradicate them. And they say to those who rebuke them, who is the man without some pride, and who is the man who is constantly upright in his business dealings, never taking advantage of a person, and all of whose deeds are faultless? Surely there are many people better and greater than I that do such and such. Therefore, I will do as they do, and whatever happens to them in the world to come will also happen to me. Those who think thus are guilty of unequally folly. As an analogy, take the case of one whose eyes pain him greatly, and he has a certain remedy that is excellent for healing the eye, and all people know the positive worth of this remedy. It is not wise to say, I will apply no medicine. And if I become blind, what of it? There are a lot of people blind, and in the world, what happens to them will happen to me. Surely, this type of reasoning is nonsense, and to be scorned by everyone. Therefore, scrutinize well your soul. Try with all your power not to let your eyes dwell on those who are below you in wisdom and in service to God. For then you, yourself, will be lessened in the service of the Holy One, blessed is he, and in the quality of wisdom. But rather, pay heed with your eyes and your heart to him who is above you, and try to follow his example and to emulate him according to your ability in exercising wisdom and in the service of the Holy One, blessed be he. And on this subject it is said in Hosea 6:3, and let us know, eagerly strive to know the Lord. His going forth is as sure as the morning, and he shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter rain that waters instructs the earth.